welcome back to the conversation on Morning Spring. Today we are going to be focusing on what people, you know, regularly call the HND BSc dichotomy. That is the discrimination they say exists, especially towards the higher national diploma degree, higher national diploma holders in workplaces or even going forward to advance their academics. Uh, some days ago, we had the, some days ago, there was actually an announcement made by the head of the Federation of Civil Service, that's Mrs. Esson, saying that HND holders will have to go on a one-year mandatory training before they are converted from the executive to the officers cadre in the Civil Service Commission. This has actually generated controversy in different quarters on why the HND holders will have to go for another training when the BSc holders do not have to. To help us have a better understanding of this discussion and also to widen the conversation, we have joining us this morning Dr. Omotosho Jr., Oluyemi Omotosho Jr., who is an educationist and a public affairs analyst. Good morning, Doctor, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
All right, so I'm sure you must have, heard that announcement made, and it has elicited a lot of controversy, generated controversy in different quarters. The HND holders believe that they have been discriminated against, and this is one conversation that did not just start today. We've had it over the years. In fact, in the year 2019, 2021, there was a bill that was actually sponsored in the House of Federal House of Representatives for there to be, for the HND and the BSc dichotomy to be scrapped. I would just like to get your impression of this announcement by Mrs. Esson.
Well, thank you very much. You know, this is an age-long problem.
Yeah.
The discrimination started immediately, I think, after the establishment of the University of Ibadan. The first tertiary institution in Nigeria was the Yaba College of Technology, which was established in 1948. So this argument, the problem of this dichotomy between university and polytechnic has been on for more than 40 years. And then we are yet to have solutions. It is quite unfortunate. Now, there have been so many committees set up by government at high level. The problem will be when it comes to implementation, they will not implement. Now, the discrimination, to say the least, is unacceptable. It's ungodly. It's killing. It's ridiculous. It's corruption. It is, affecting the development of Nigeria. It is an attempt to actually retard and bar talent. It is unnecessary. Now, if you look at the polytechnic and the university sector in Nigeria, this agitation is basically about the products of the polytechnic and the universities. And then in the university, you have a 4-year program. You have some courses like medicine that are 7. You run a 5-year program in the polytechnics. When this discrimination came, initially the polytechnic were the entry requirement of 4 credit units, including English and Maths. It was changed to 5 credits, including English and Maths. And so all attempts to solve the problem have always been, have always been disturbed by people in the top hierarchy of the people in the civil service. And some universities in Nigeria, it is quite unfortunate. And so the discrimination is unnecessary. It is affecting our development. Now, if you look at it very well, the products of the polytechnic are accepted wholeheartedly abroad. If you have the HND here, you can do a master's degree abroad. You can do a PhD. If you have it here, the university in Nigeria will not allow you. They will discriminate against you. Again, the universities and the polytechnics and the stakeholders have been trying to solve the problem. You are aware of what we call the top-up program. Some universities are doing the top-up program now. You do a 1-year program after the HND, and so to bridge that, whatever they call the gap, so that they can accept it, so that you can move. How do you establish an institution that is providing and producing graduates, and then you have people working there, and then you place a bar on their career development? There is no place in the world that is happening. When Nigeria established the universities and the colleges of education, there are career progression. You can do the master, you can do the PhD. But for the polytechnic, they say once you finish the HND, you should not go forward again. That was wrong. And that was why the agitation has been on and on and on. As I'm talking to you now, the Nigerian universities still discriminate against HND holder. It is not acceptable because they talk about curriculum. They have, modified and reviewed the curriculum over the years that they are almost similar now. Then again, when you discriminate against the students, what of the workers? They are discriminating against the workers too. You have a PhD from OAU, I have a PhD from Unilag, and then we are working. Fortunately, you get a job maybe in a university, and I get a job in a polytechnic. Then you come around to say those working in the polytechnic are not the same. Are you saying that? Most of the people working in the polytechnic are highly qualified people that even when they were in class, they are better off. The opportunity to get a job is a function of who you know and possibly a connection in Nigeria. And so if you find yourself in the College of Education or in the university, that should not be a basis of discrimination. Now, again, they agitated for that over the years, and I tell you today, there is a little, the university, the polytechnics have moved forward. There are some people in the university that like the polytechnic system, and they advocate for it. But there are some people in the university who are against it. Particularly, there are some people in the civil service, particularly this head of service we are quoting now, I'm coming to her, is one of the problems of the technological development of Nigeria. You ask them to do a 5-year program. They are doing it. And then after doing it, you say them because, they are not in your rules book, because originally, what the civil service have in their rule book was O-level, advanced level, and first degree. The HND was not there. The polytechnics were established as a way of improving the technological development of Nigeria because it's technical and vocational education. And when it was established in the 40s, in the 50s, what you have was that no polytechnic graduate will go and seek job in the civil service, because before you graduate, you are getting a job from the multinationals, from companies that are working in Nigeria. I remember in Yabatech those days, when our final year students are writing their exam, you see companies coming to beg them to come and work. It was when the economy nosedived that polytechnic graduates started seeking work in the civil service. And when they started seeking work in the civil service and the agitation was much that they should be taking them, then one permanent secretary woke up one day and said it should give them level 7. That's how they accepted them. They agitated for that until they changed it to level 8, and since then the agitation has been on. And over the years, one expects the civil service, to have actually, put the polytechnic graduates as part of the, input to the civil service development, because they are good. You have engineers, you have administrators among them, and they are doing well in most places they find themselves. Now, the discrimination is endemic because of personal hatred and then personal animosities that is unwarranted. Because why I'm saying this is because, if you ask them to do the following, the polytechnic people have been telling them over the years, tell us the conditions, the requirements. We will meet them. When you look at professional exams in Nigeria, from ICANN to NIM to NIM, to NML to engineering and current, you will see that the polytechnic graduates are excelling in those areas. So if they are excelling and they are passing, why the discrimination? Why can't you use performance as a basis of career development? Why is it only in Nigeria that you will bar them from moving forward when they are accepting them from abroad? Even where we copy the ND and the HND thing in abroad in UK, they accept our graduates. They take them for master's degree and they take them in their civil service without discrimination, and you can rise to any level you want. It is only in Nigeria you will be an HND holder, they say you can't go beyond level 14. And when you are in the polytechnic, it's the same thing that happened. Just 3 days ago now, they released a scheme of service to the polytechnic. If you read that scheme of service, you will see that this is hatred. Now, a career development for a set of people, just a minute, you discover that you need a quarter of a century to get to the peak. Where normally in the university, in the civil service, you need an average of 15 to 16 years to get to your peak. But here now, they did
a quarter of a century.
A quarter, 26 years.
Okay.
You need 26 years to become a chief lecturer. And part of the discrimination was that some people sat down in a particular place and decided that this is an academic community. The polytechnic is an academic institution. And when you see it's an academic institution, you put the highest top academic there. You call him chief lecturer. Chief is an abnormality in academic setting. what is recognized globally is the professorship. Why didn't you give them the professorship? They didn't give them.
Who released that document?
It was the civil service, the federal government. And it is this same federal government that is busy establishing more polytechnics every day, that is discriminating against the system they are calling Nigerians to imbibe into. And so when they released that scheme of service 3 days ago, it has caused a lot of problems now. You will now see that, before we have a 7 level, the polytechnic has a 7 level grade, like the university. Well, the university has assistant lecturer, graduate assistant, assistant lecturer, lecturer 2, lecturer 1, senior lecturer, associate professor, and professor. The polytechnics had what we call assistant lecturer, lecturer 3, lecturer 2, lecturer 1, senior lecturer, principal lecturer, and chief lecturer. It was like that before. But in this new scheme now, they took the polytechnic to a 9-grade level and introduced what they call senior lecturer 1, senior lecturer 2, and moved the bar again to 7th grade. So before you become a chief lecturer, you must have a PhD. Apart from that, you must be in the service for about 26 years. That is unacceptable.
From your first day of working?
Yes, from your first day of working, before you can become a chief lecturer, you must have spent a minimum, because you may not even be promoted, of 26 years. That is apart from having what they call, a PhD, master's degree and PhD, and apart from having what they just introduced now, NSQ certificate, National Skill Qualification Certificate. You must have the National Skill Qualification Certificate level 3 before you can move from senior lecturer to a principal lecturer. You can imagine that. And so the discrimination continues. And this particular thing I'm saying now was initiated and pronounced by the head of service, Mrs. Esan. It is unfortunate. And then I don't know why the civil service and this particular head of service have personal discrimination against the polytechnic education, which is the basis of our development. The National Assembly passed a law that the discrimination should end. It is this head of service and some people surrounding that went to Buhari and surrounded and prevailed on him not to sign the bill. There is no need. That's why I say that this discrimination is unacceptable, is uncalled for, is ungodly.
Dr. Omotosho,
what we should be emphasizing in a developing nation like Nigeria is performance.
Yeah, we'll
show
get there.
what you can do.
Yes, we'll get there. But then, it's quite dicey one, not really dicey, so that we want to speak to issues. We don't want to speak about personality now, because we said maybe at the end, the current head of service has something personal.
Yes, he has.
That's why
she has shown it over the years.
Okay, please hold on. But the dichotomy we are talking about, because so that we unravel, we unpack it, we have the educational part, okay, the discrimination against holders of this certificate, even beyond the 4 walls of university. If you have an HND, if you have a BSc or BEd, there is a way both holders of the certificate to be attended to, even in private settings, public institutions. There is that part. There is the part of the career growth that we talked about, that there is a ceiling already, for HND holders, and these ones that we are seeing right now. But many persons will say the issue of dichotomy, and it's the truth, it precedes the current head of service, Madame Esan. It precedes her. The conversation has always been there. We've tried to, I think there have been interventions from the National Assembly, different bills, and then under different presidents, Goodluck Jonathan, Muhammadu Buhari. But many persons will say, you can present a bill, you can make it into a law all you want, but the employers knows what they know. The preference will always be, as we find it right now, on university graduates at the expense of polytechnic graduates. And you have established that it's not for the want of talent, it's not for the want of skill, it's not for the want of knowledge. So the issue, what I'm saying is, it precedes, the current head of service. But for you, before we come to all these things that we are seeing right now, what has always been the bane? Is it because, and I'd like to come back again, is it because of the perception of we, the people, as Nigerians? I don't want us to tag it to individuals. No. Because there is a way employer A, Apple company, Orange company, you see the preference will always be for university.
Over the years, the technical institutions were set up as a gap to bridge the technological development of Nigeria. Because there are so many theoretical courses in the universities. Of course, the university actually produces what we call theoretical certificates. It's theoretical education.
Will that be fair?
No, it's theoretical.
That won't be fair.
They are practical there.
Yeah.
But you can classify it as, theoretical, while the other one is more practical.
Why do we do that classification that with Dr. Omotosho? What do they do in Polytechnic that they don't do in
Why we
university?
arrive at that is the basis.
Okay.
That's why you say technological.
Okay.
This one is more practical oriented.
Okay.
You are supposed to be skilled. And then in the university, you are equally skilled. You do a lot of things that makes you, excel. But, there are more theories, in the universities than in the Polytechnic. And then there are more practicals in the Polytechnic than in the university. As a matter of fact, when you finish the essential diploma, you have to go for a 1 year, technical training before you come back for the HND. That's apart from the in between CWES and the rest of them you do. Now, over the year, when the technical institutions were established, it is to bridge that gap of technological development. So the people who formulated the policy, were basically from the Ministry of Works and Housing. And in the first, that's why they give them chief lecturer. Like you have a chief engineer in the works department. That's why I think they gave them chief lecturer. Now, it was when the polytechnics were growing and they started realizing that these people are equally skilled and, educationally okay, that they can work in the civil service. They were not going to the civil service to work before. All this discrimination we are talking about, is basically from the civil service before the universities took it over. And it's unfortunate. And then the fact is that they were not looking for a job in the civil service. The jobs are there. And as national diploma, they were awarding HND before. They changed it they broke it to two. To national diploma, ordinary national diploma, and later higher national diploma. Later, because of the discrimination, they removed the ordinary from the national diploma and make it national diploma. And then they have been growing like that, been improving. Based on the noise from the society, from institutions, from agencies, the universities and the civil service have been helping the polytechnics to grow very well. They've modified the curriculum, they have modified the certificate, they have changed the rules of those they can recruit to their products from 4 credits to 5 credits. Apart from that, they have increased, the input of the people who teach in the university. Before, if you have professional exam, you can teach in the polytechnic. But nowadays, you must have a first degree or HND. You must have a master's degree before you can move forward. You must have a PhD. In my school, as I talk to you today, in the Federal Polytechnic here, you have more than 89 PhD holders, and there are many like that in the other polytechnics and the rest of them. So the discrimination is basically a perception of a group of people who feel that these people should not move. And I think it's an oversight. Why do I say it's an oversight is that you establish these institutions, you are creating more. And then you are saying that once you have the HND certificate, you can't move forward again. That is where you will retire in your life. That is what the polytechnics are fighting. That, look, don't bar us. Let us move forward. Give us the opportunity to do a master's. Give us the opportunity to do a PhD. Give us the opportunity to move on. Initially, when they were said, they say you can do MBA or MPA. When you finish the MBA or MPA, they say you can't do PhD. They will not allow you to do a master's degree except you travel abroad. And when people realize that they are taking them abroad, they started moving abroad. Some will go, some will come back, some will not come back. So this agitation has been on. Then the civil service, who accepted them because they were not in their rules book originally, but they were disturbing them that they want work. They want work, particularly when the economy nosedive. Now, where do you place the HND or ND? There is no place, because what the civil service had originally was the O-level, advanced level, and degree. So when the disturbance was too much, they created something for them, and they placed them on level 7. They accepted. And later they started agitating that, look, we are spending 5 years. We are the same with the university. Give us level 8. They improved that. They placed them on level 8. Then they said you can't go beyond level 14. Why a school cert holder or a BSc holder can go to permanent secretary or director level? You can't. And then they started agitating for that. Is still there now. And as I talk to you now, they shift that from the civil service to the institutions. In the institution, even in the polytechnic itself. The polytechnic itself, because of the rules set up by the civil service and of the federation and the rest of them, the polytechnic itself employs its own output as instructors, not as assistant lecturers. That's your, and the instructor cadre is different from the lecturer cadre. For you to convert from the instructor cadre to the lecturer cadre, you have to do a master's degree, you have to do other things before you can convert.
So, doctor, but if a polytechnic if a polytechnic would do that to its own product as well, taking them as instructor, would that be a fault of the HOS
the
as
polytechnic
well?
Cannot do, the polytechnic administrator cannot do otherwise, because they are taking instruction from the rules book. Okay. And the rules book is a function of what the federal government put in the rules book. So that agitation in that area continues. In the new scheme of service, they have removed instructorship now. They say every HND now will start as assistant lecturer, graduate assistant to assistant lecturer, which is good. And they have introduced what we have been practicing in the polytechnic. They have introduced that if you don't have a PhD, you can't get to the principal lecturer level. Fine, those are good areas. But even in the new scheme of service now, the agitation still continues. Where do you put the instructor? I know they will solve that administratively. So this discrimination is really uncalled for. Again, if you look at, if you bring somebody from the university to come and be the rector of a particular polytechnic, from his own mouth, from his own perspective, that discrimination has ended. He will be advocating for the polytechnic from that day, because he will have seen the truth. When they are far away, they start saying that, look, there is discrimination. What discrimination? And what the polytechnic people are saying over the years is that, give us a level playing ground. Let performance be the basis of determining who moves forward and who moves backward. And that is what they are doing abroad. You may have a page. Look at this place. If you are here, you have HND or BSc, your employer will not value anybody that is not performing. If you are performing and it's national diploma you have, he will prefer to be paying you than to be paying a BSc holder or a PhD holder who cannot perform. I mean, this is a professional job. And so they say give them a level playing ground. That's what they have been advocating for over the years. And that level playing ground, I'm coming. That level playing ground has not been given. That was why they went to the National Assembly. And the National Assembly passed a bill. Stop the dichotomy. Everybody is saying stop the. Why do we need the dichotomy? There is no dichotomy abroad. Why dichotomy here?
All right. Let me take it from the word give everyone a level playing ground. Let's look at the foundation of this dichotomy. Going into the universities or polytechnics. When you write JAM, the score for you to enter into any university is 200 minimum.
Yes.
But for polytechnic, we see as low as 140.
140, 150, yes.
We see as low as 150. So don't you think people naturally have this belief that those who go to polytechnics have low intelligent quotient?
No, it is
compared to their counterparts that go to universities? Because they believe it is the second-class students that go to the polytechnic.
That happens
like the high flyers will defer to the universities.
Even some politicians have said it.
And others.
That when you are good, you go to the university. When you are not so good, you come to the. That is a wrong perception.
Is that a lie?
It's a lie. It's not true. I went to the polytechnic. I didn't went to the polytechnic by design. I went by circumstance. And why? Because I have no money to move on. I got admission in OAU to do accountancy. It would have been the first step, but I don't have money to prosecute a 4-year program since I have no parents. So I was looking for an institution where it can be broken. Somebody introduced me that you can do ND here. After that, you work for a year. Then you go for HND. And that suits my purpose. I eventually did the BSc. But let's come to what to say about JAM. Why? Federal government itself, they have major problems. They establish these institutions. And so many Nigerians want university and polytechnic education. They go there. Most Nigerians, because of the perception of the society, want the university education. And because they want the university education, they rush to the university. And so, for JAM to make sure some people enter the polytechnic established by state and federal government, they have to lower the scores. Otherwise, you will not get anybody there.
But that's your own explanation.
That's not giving them a level playing ground.
That is the admission. I'm part of admission in my school over the year. Right. And that is what you see. If you say it's 200, nobody will come to that place because they are taking the same 200 in the university. So even we go to a stage, it is when the universities have completed all the admissions that we started taking the remaining one. The entry requirement is the same. It is because of the perception of the society. And they have been telling the society, remove the HND, change it to BTech. And when you change it to BTech, the entry requirement is the same. And so most Nigerians who want to attend...
We have BTech in universities.
Yes, we have.
Schools like Lautech have BTech.
Yes. So those who want to attend, since Nigerians want university education, they will have the national diploma in the polytechnic, and that national diploma will become a feeder to the BTech. And once you do that, all this noise will stop. And then all this idea of burying talent will stop. And again, if you look at the foreign institutions, right, once you finish your HND here, you are allowed to do a master's degree and a PhD without discriminating. I have people who have done that in my school. There are many. And so it is only here they discriminate. And when the jam comes, they put those bars for colleges of education and polytechnics, because people will try to access university first before the polytechnic and before the...
And you think it's because of the public perception?
It is because of the public perception, and because the public is feeling that because the administrators are saying they are not equal. Now, look at me, where I work. Because of this discrimination, I have all certificates. The only certificate I don't have is the NC. I have the national diploma. I didn't even go to a secondary school. I went to a teacher's grade 2. I went to a modern school. From there, I went to a teacher's grade 2 school, and I did GC on my own. And when I passed GC, I went to Yabatech. I've told you why I went to Yabatech. And in Yabatech, I finished ND. I went for the HND after 1 year. Now, I did the BSc again. Because when you apply for a master, they say you can only do MBA. You can't do MSc. When I finished the masters in MBA, they say, no, it's only MSc they want to teach in the university. I want to apply for the MSc. I couldn't have money to go to abroad. They say, no, they can't take HND background. I went to do the BSc. When I did the BSc, of course, I was able to now do MSc and PhD. What I'm trying to say is, now today, I have ND, I have MBA, I have PGD, I have PGDE, I have MSc. Before I have the PhD, all you require is just BSc, MSc, PhD. Imagine all the diversions. Now, just because I wanted to be in the academics. Now, it doesn't happen like that in other countries. It is only in Nigeria. And because of all this discrimination, how do you establish institutions and discriminate against them? Place the papers on the table and look at their curriculum, look at the people working there. Okay, if they are discriminating against the output, what of the people who are working in the polytechnic? If me and you graduated from the same university, the fact that I'm working in the polytechnic, does that make you better than me because you are working in the university? We write the same paper, we access international journals together, and then we do all this. So this discrimination is a perception of some set of people, and I must confess here, some people are struggling tooth and nail to solve it, including people from the universities and including people from the civil service. The problem we have today is that the hawks are more vociferous than the other people. Right. And the hawks, part of the hawks, is the head of the civil service and the rest of them. You gather them together in a meeting. You agree on what you want to be in the scheme of service. You went on your own and started writing new things entirely. How do you ask somebody to get to a chief lecturer level after spending 26 years, when normally you need 15 to 16 years?
All right. Thank you. It's been what we are discussing, talking about the dichotomy, the HND and the BSc dichotomy, especially with the new development that people with HND certificate, civil servant with HND certificate will be made to undergo a 1-year training, for them to move ahead. We will speak to that particularly when we come back from this break. It's the Morning Spring of Western Spring Television. You don't want to move from us, so we'll be back.